There you go. Let's see. I guess I can tell you a couple of things. It's not completely official yet, but it's highly likely, high probability, and that is the HamSCI workshop will be held this year, Saturday and Sunday, March 14th and 15th, I believe. And it will be, yeah, Saturday and Sunday, March 14th and 15th. And it will very, very likely be held within a 5-mile radius of the ARRL headquarters in Connecticut. So we're working actively on getting the details of that tied up enough that we can make an official announcement, but you can know that is in the works. And another announcement that will affect everyone eventually is I have been told by our IT team here at Scranton that we are going to be moving away from Zoom and we're going to be using Teams in the future. And that's because Microsoft Teams is included in our institutional subscription to Office 365, and we have to pay extra for Zoom. So we have a duplicative, we're paying for this extra service. So I will start working. I don't know when we're making that transition yet. I would imagine it's going to come somewhere in the next 3 to 9 months, but I will be starting to look at making sure that we can have the same functionality with Teams that we have right now, which is basically I really like having these standing links that people can just join anytime, day or night. And hopefully in the same recording capabilities. So hopefully I can either figure it out myself or work with our IT team here to figure out how to smoothly transition HamSCI telecons from Zoom to Teams. So it's not going to happen tomorrow, but it is probably on the 3 to 9 month horizon. Back to net.
Okay. Any other announcements?
Nope, just what's on the screen. Just thanks Nathaniel and of course Felisa for getting the materials out to Dave in Colorado for HamCon next week. We're looking good, assuming I can fly out there and their flights don't get canceled, but that's what you're gonna do. That's it.
And I apologize if anyone sent me an email within the past week and a half and I haven't answered it yet. I have just not been able to answer emails, but I have nothing scheduled tomorrow except getting my haircut and answering emails and going for a walk. So I hope by tomorrow, if you were trying to get some message from me, I hope to send you some message that starts with, "I'm sorry, this is a late reply, but here's how I can help you."
Oh, yes.
Okay. Let's jump right in. Bill, any updates?
Oh, yeah. Where we stand right now, as best I can tell, we have everything working, with the one exception of station creation. And my team advises me that they have a test version of this they want me to check out, and I simply have not had time to look at that yet. I've been getting ready for this Dash meeting because I'm trying to gen up a happy server, and so as to have intelligent questions to pose to John Vandegrift. And so, but I'm going to have to put that aside even for a few minutes to see whether station creation can work. I know we have a couple of people who are waiting to create stations, but best I can tell, everything else is working. So.
Do we need to update
Bill,
the link to that database on the HamSCI website?
So what?
Do we need to update the link to the central control system somewhere on the HamSCI website?
Yeah. It's pswsnetwork.eng.ua.edu. Now, the one with caps in the middle of it still works. They both point to the same new server.
ENG, okay.
Echo Nancy Golf.
I will work on updating that HamSCI forwarding. Yeah, Gary, if you anywhere you see that it needs to be changed, go ahead and change it. I think the automatic forwarding thing where you go to psws.hamsci.org, I think I have to figure out how to re-update that. So I will work on that.
All right, sounds
I
good.
see that, Bill, I see that all of the everything's orange on the map right now.
Yeah, probably something went wrong last night during downloading or uploading, I should say. Let me take a look here. Yeah, I just need to rerun that. There are some stations that are submitting, and I guess maybe I need to talk with Rob about this. This is another thing that I simply can't get to everything. There are some stations that appear to be submitting digital RF data sets that are missing the metadata in the place where the watchdog looks for it. So that will cause the watchdog to quit. And I've got to take a look at getting it to automatically restart, but make a note of that.
Whether it's relevant, the only stations showing green earlier today was my friend G4HZX in the UK. But despite showing green, the last actual data was the 15th of September.
I suspect we have tariffs on our data importing. That's why they're yellow.
Have to work on negotiations.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Bill? All right, Gary.
Sure. So last week I was at K3LR's, disconnected the Whisper Damon RX-888 and the ground mag, shortened the cables up, moved the products, the two systems into the mouse house, buried the cables, and got the Whisper Damon RX-888 up and running, which was pretty easy to do. As others suggested, I just had to plug it into the router. So we've got a hardwired Ethernet connection instead of Wi-Fi. And then the system pretty much started itself with a little bit of help from Christina and phone call to Robin and Phil Karn. The next time we do this, we should be working to figure out if there's any documentation that either the person going there has to have, or even there should be a card on the monitor that says how to shut down the system. Because Tim Duffy said, he says, we're going to go do some RF sniffing around, your equipment. And if it's making noise, say somewhere on 20 meters, he says, I've got to shut this stuff down for the big contest that's coming up in a week and a half, obviously. And then he'll restart it. But there's no instructions there how to do it other than just to yank the cord out of the wall, which is not the most sophisticated methodology. So just something we need to keep in mind and work on. The ground mag, I feel badly about because I had no idea that I needed specialized connectors for that heavy duty direct burial cable. So even with a couple of Tim's guys there who have done this quite often, we're not able to get the connectors on the cable. So the ground mag is down until somebody gets back there with the right connectors. So, but other than that, we've got a beautiful building, fully decked out with utilities and air conditioning and insulation and kind of a quasi rug on the floor and so on and so forth. So a nice microwave access port. But I think also that Rob was looking at the spectrum after I restarted everything, and there's some questions about say 14 to 20 megahertz if we've raised the noise floor. Perhaps, it's the first time the PSWS has probably been this close to the active antenna. It's only about 20 or 25 feet away. Maybe that's got something to do with it. I know when I left the keyboard and the mouse and the monitor and everything plugged in. So those are just more antennas coming out of the B-Link. So a lot of theories why we may be seeing a higher noise floor, but no actual facts yet. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Good to know about the magnetometer issue. I do have those special connectors here, so we'll have to figure out whether we ship some connectors to you or if we send a team out from here to there or how we want to do that. But that is good to know. I can tell you that we do have my wife, Rachel, and our colleague, Christine Zagzuski, they are now actively working on the magnetometer project here at Scranton, and they actually have a lab set up for this. So they're paying a bit more attention to this project than was previously paid attention. So they're going through, they're still kind of the beginning stages of it, but we do have people actively working on that a bit more systematically than before, in addition to, of course, Dave Witten.
So yeah, the other thing we did, Christina and I, there were some students there from Grove City College, and Tim specifically asked us to come on the 10th last Friday to be able to speak to the students about the PSWS and HamSCI efforts. And if he gets another one of those groups together, maybe I can go out and speak to them and take care of the ground mag at the same time. So, but it's also into contest season pretty heavily, so we'll see what Tim wants to do.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great, Gary. Thank you.
Do you have a way of independently testing the ground magnetometer? I mean, do you have a test set up that you can look at it?
That's what that's what they're putting in the lab. I'm scrolling through my Google Photos right now to see if I have a picture of it because I know I took a picture. Oh, here it is. Yes, we do. There you go. So yes, we have a set of Helmholtz coils now. We have the magnetometer sitting over here. We have a Raspberry Pi with the magnetometer hat sitting over here. We have some signal generators, and there's Rachel. Dr. Z was at her house that day, so they were working remotely, and there's Majid. So they are working on figuring out what the right signals are to send to this thing, making sure they understand how all the software works, things like that. So yes, we do have a lab set up.
I was actually referring to for Gary when he gets out there. Is there something he can plug in and verify that the cable's good?
Yeah, we can work on that. We
Might
can,
make his life a lot easier if he has
There's-
somebody testing it.
There's
Yeah.
a standard cable connector tester.
mhm.
It's just a
Yeah.
standard RG 45 and
Oh, it's a Cat 5 cable?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
Cat
okay.
5. Yeah, it's a Cat 6E cable it's a shielded Cat 6E cable, so it's a little beefier than usual. So we have special connectors. So we could ship Gary I could have Majid ship Gary or whoever is appropriate the connectors and a crimping tool that will work with that cable.
That's half the battle.
Yes. Yeah. Majid is up on exactly which ones to use, so we can get that to you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Rob, any updates?
Not really. I'm working on Whisper Daemon Server, a major rewrite of it. So that doesn't directly affect you guys. The K3LR does look like it really needs some work. The RFI that we see is uh, impacts the bands uh, above 20 meters by 10 to 20 dB. There's a huge broad hump. Um, so I'm, um, I can't really, uh, diagnose it from here. But it needs some work. One of the problems might be the introduction of the Ethernet cable. Is there really a motivation to use wired Ethernet? The Ethernet cable introduces a ground loop um, into the system, especially if the router it's plugged into is a PoE capable or one of the many current routers and Ethernet switches that even if they don't use PoE, they have the center tap transformers and Ethernet grounds and so on associated with PoE. And those Ethernet switches are potentially a real source of RFI. So if one thing to try would be to return to use of Wi-Fi unless there's some real motivation. Alternatively, um, DX Engineering now sells a very expensive Ethernet RFI isolator device. It's $80 or something for a pair. Um, and those could be, that'd be one thing to do, introduce that and see if those affect reduce the RFI. Um, but they are um, trying to put Band-Aids over sources of RFI is it's a whack-a-mole kind of thing. Whereas if we could just go back to use of Wi-Fi, that eliminates the Ethernet cable as a source of RFI. So that's, I don't know, the next time you're out there, I think the quickest thing would be just to remove the Ethernet cable and return to Wi-Fi and see what the 0 to 30 megahertz spectrum looks like.
That sounds like a good suggestion to me, Rob.
Uh-huh.
Gary, is there some reason that Tim would not want us on the Wi-Fi, or did he just think that the wired Ethernet would be better and more robust?
If if the Wi-Fi exists there, I don't know, I would think that it doesn't make any difference whether one more device is using it. This is what I'm talking about. Let me see, where's the share button? Share. Oh, just if you log on, as you can remotely. I don't let's see, where is it? Hello, not documents, screens. I'm just there. We go. I'm struggling with the user interface here to share. So I have to allow. Okay. So you see, if you look at this is you can get to this if you have a connection. You can get to this. This is the Q web page for the Whisper Daemon server there. And let's see, where is this? I'm I'm looking. Oh, okay. Now I can say, yeah, this is HamSCI 0. This goes to your VPN server. If you have a WireGuard connection to the HamSCI VPN, it's at port 46006 is the. It will give you this screen, and you can note that. Oh, that's now that looks to me like somebody's transmitting. And um, let's see. And it's not an overrange event. That is somebody splattering. I mean, we're so sensitive. Where somebody looks like there's phase noise across the whole band when somebody's transmitting. This could be from many sources, but that's that's the problem I'm talking about is if you look starting at about 12 13 megahertz, if you look, the background noise level uh, rises with humps on it as you go up in frequency, and that's just not what you would expect. That's clearly there's noise, and we could zoom in, look up here where it's most obvious and zoom in. And let's see, out a bit. Let's see what we get. It's not the kind of picket fence problem that one would expect, from a switching power supply. Um, it looks very broadband. So that's, I don't know what to say at this point. What it is? It's if um, it's it's hard. It's hard. We haven't seen anything like this at other sites, but there's several sources there that it looks like a transmit event. Splatters across the whole band, and then there's this persistent at all times. Um, There we can see the background noise level. Anyway, this is a tool, 0 to 30 megahertz, or well, in this case it's 64 megahertz, although the low pass filter chops it off at above 30. Um, I guess there's an external low pass filter on this, which as we would want.
So I'm guessing, Nathaniel, to answer your question, Tim was thinking probably like I was. It's in his mind, the Wi-Fi is just one less piece of equipment and one less power supply plugged in, and it's potentially a noise source for him too. So
Okay, well, if there's no Wi-Fi needed except for this device, then you need to see if you can reduce
The
it.
the the mouse house is fairly close to the main house. Are you able to get a Wi-Fi signal there just as it is?
yeah, Tim had one of his guys put a microwave access point right up in the corner of the mouse house, brand new, and
Yeah.
brought a new cable into the mouse house and mounted a Wi-Fi router on the wall and a regular standard 4-port router. So it's all
Okay.
new IT infrastructure. So yeah, the Wi-Fi router is literally 3 or 4 feet away from the unit. But
Well, so I think if that's the case, if the infrastructure is there already, it seems like it's kind of a zero cost thing to just try switching off of the wired Ethernet and over to Wi-Fi and see if this goes away.
Yeah, if you we can remotely. We need to know the Wi-Fi SSID and password, although we don't. We just really need the password since it'll be obvious. And if you can Whisper Daemon, if you give it an argument, it will walk you through setting up, enabling the Wi-Fi. Although I
Right,
think
so
it was there already, right? So it was previously working. Sorry.
Well, it was in a different building in a different Wi-Fi port.
Okay,
So I
okay,
mean,
well,
somebody's physically got to be there then to disconnect the Ethernet, because if you just turn on the
Right.
Wi-Fi and leave the Ethernet cable connected, you haven't proved anything.
that's right. But yeah, if somebody's there, having them unplug the Ethernet cable is something you could do without making a trip out there, likely. It seems like there's somebody around the place, go unplug the Ethernet cable from this device and you'd have, we'd know if that made the difference. But anyway, there's at least a couple of problems. Yeah. The, uh, the apparently the transmitter, raising the noise across the whole spectrum like that, that looks like a transmitter problem, or the LNA is being overloaded. Out in the probe, there's a amplifier and it might be overloaded, but the you really can't overload the 888. I mean, it has RFAGC and and it's not even adjusting that. You can see in the window I'm sharing in the lower corner, there's an RF gain setting down here that I've just highlighted. That isn't changing. So there's no, broad level change. And over here, there's this over range field that I've highlighted over in this, the right-hand side. And those indicates I mean, you've had trillions of samples, of which 144 million of them over the last 2 days have been over ranges. So there's that's insignificant. So there's not an overload problem in this installation. There's
Well, I mean, recall that this is a world-class contest station. There's 11 stations in the house down the street, and they all run 1,500 watts over
yeah
50 different antenna systems pointing all over the world. So if
yeah.
somebody's on the air, we're going to know it.
Well,
And nothing we can do about it.
yeah. Interestingly, I don't see a particularly strong signal though. If
Mm,
anybody was trying, you can see that we're looking at the whole spectrum. Well, there's something that came up on. There's a 14-meter signal. I mean, a 20-meter, 14 megahertz signal. So there's a transmitter that turned on. It's not, it's strong, but it's not. And there's another one up here. It looks like that looks like a CB signal right there. Those aren't particularly strong, though. Nothing there. This is not the receive site being overloaded. This is this is something turning on, transmitting, and uh, producing noise across the whole spectrum from what is it, four megahertz up to 28 megahertz. That's that looks like a problem they'd want to fix. It would, it
right.
would one transmitter would be interfering with others. It's raising the whole spectrum. Of course, it could be just that it's in, as I say, it could be that probe antenna that we're using. That's where that distortion could be appearing. But it's not, you can see signals going up and down to minus 50 dBm. Those are 30 dB below overload. It's, way, way down. So I'd be happy to work with them. They're people like Clint K7OEI, he's a much more expert on these. George Burkett would be a good resource if you can't reach me. George is very familiar with debugging these problems. But this is a very much there's impairments here that I think when it's pretty good when there's nothing going on. You can see lots of signals at up above 15 megahertz, but it looks like it could be significantly better than it is. And that I assume transmit introduced RFI really needs to be debugged and eliminated. Okay, that's my observations for the contributions for the And I'm looking to stop sharing, which is way down here in the corner. There. But anyway, you guys know how to look at it. That you can gain access to that display. Was that clear?
Mhm.
Okay. So you don't really need, well, I mean, for the Ethernet trial, you don't really need to be there. Just, but I'm sure debugging that broad spectrum, the transmit, or this we describe it as a transmit, intermittent transmit problem. That's probably you need to be there and figure out who's doing what when those things appear. Go over to
Well, from
the
talking to Tim with the transmit, he said that there's one person who has remote access to his 6 meter system that will come in any time of day. He said that's really the main source of transmitting that would happen on a regular basis.
well, then that would suggest if they're, I mean, I could go to PSK Reporter and see if anybody's, well, of course, you don't know the call sign he would be using, but you could look and see if anybody's active. It might be that you know that 6 meter signal is overloading the LNA out at the antenna.
Well,
Yes.
but his buddy is in Pittsburgh and he remotes in and runs FT8, I believe. So hopefully he's not running a ton of power on FT8, but who knows?
I think a lot of people do. I don't know. I don't. You can't, they don't get. That's one of the things about the FT modes. I don't think they include the power level, right? Uh, unlike Whisper. So you don't really know what power levels people are running.
And it's really possible to make a real mess out of the transmitted audio too on FT8 if things aren't set up correctly. We know that. So
Yeah. Well, there was a burst. It went. Well, you didn't see it, but um, anyway, yeah. If there's a way to correlate transmit activity, um, let's see. Actually, we could look and see if there's. Let's see. Can I SSH into that? Actually, we have a log. We're listening on all the FT8 signals there. So let me see if there's. Uh,
well, I guess the bottom line is addressing some of those issues would help Tim tremendously too. But you need the people with the wherewithal and the know-how to be there to work on them, as opposed to just plugging and unplugging things and hoping for the
yeah.
best.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there is something to trying out the Wi-Fi, and I think what Rob said is very reasonable. Where we just find out what the password is for the local Wi-Fi there, and then we can have someone remotely enable that, and then have someone there just pull the plug, the Ethernet
Yeah.
plug, and I think we'll very quickly know if that solves the problem or not.
We'll know in seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably the one. It's a kind of hidden feature in Whisper Daemon to bring up the Wi-Fi login dialog. So probably want to schedule that with me.
Yeah, Tim has a buddy, one of the guys that maintains his IT infrastructure, Phil Jellison, lives about a mile away, and he told me he's pretty comfortable working in Linux and all that sort of thing. Anyhow, so we could ask him to do that since he's only a mile away, but you got to obviously work with Tim to figure that out.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. I don't. In any case, I can't. You guys can go on to do other things. I just have to check on logging into that site. I don't know that I have to find the password to get onto that Whisper Daemon server out there at K3LA. It's um,
Christina, do you have any updates this week?
Sort of one minor one. Now that the papers have been submitted for the heliophysics big year issue, I've got some review work to do, but I've also got a little bit of room in my paper writing dance card, and I think it's time to start kind of to the earlier conversation, putting things together for a software X paper for the RX 888 Whisper Demon setup. So I'm interested in collecting whatever documentation we have on that to date. I've been going through the GitHub and looking for stuff, but I think if there's documents that exist, I'm not finding them. So question for Rob and for the whole crew, really. We know Gary and I made a point of getting some good photos that we can use for that paper. I've started putting a draft together. But any documentation that you have, please send it to me so that I can consolidate it, much as we did with the grape when we put that hardware X paper together. And of course, Yeoman's team already has the hardware X paper on the magnetometer. So I think if we can get it into that form, that's worked very well for us in the past, and it should solve a lot of our documentation issues to kind of do it right once and in a peer-reviewed way. So please send me
Yeah.
any documentation on it and any thoughts about stuff that you want to see in there. For instance, startup and shutdown procedures are
There's
something
a
that I want to make
complete
sure is in there.
okay. Michael Howland has created a complete online documentation at Read the Docs, so there's installation and operation. All that information is in that in those documents.
That sounds great.
So let me I'll put it in the chat, but I can the link to that's where you can get the our documentation on the. And if you have
Awesome.
questions, talk to Michael. He's done a wonderful job of doing that.
Thank you very much. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
I think that sounds really good, Christina. I am also trying to hire someone to help with, among other things, doing RX 888 documentation and deployment. That's in process right now. If anything good comes of that, I will let you know as soon as I do. Yeah.
Awesome.
How's the charrette going?
Well, we're still on target for timing. I have not checked the results on there in a bit. I can take a look.
Yeah.
Let's see. I believe that we had set a deadline for you and me to meet and review stuff around the end of this month, beginning of the next. So
That's okay.
we still have a little bit of time for people to put stuff in. I should probably send another message out to the sort of the more science-centered, side of the community, the Cedar list and what have you, to ask what things people might be looking for from there. Let's see. Well, most recent one was today. Maybe it was someone in this very meeting.
It was me.
Oh, look at that. All right. Real-time streams. Yeah, that's a good question. That's wonder if Maris Usis could make some recommendations for that, because he did that for the Eclipse project.
Because that is definitely something that I've gotten feedback from a number of people on. They'd really like a real-time view of what's going on.
Yeah, agreed. Some
I know,
ideas of how to put that together. So
yeah, I now have some ideas in my head from, Gwen Griffith showed an example yesterday where Radio Society of Great Britain has a meteor scatter experiment, and I put the link to that in that charrette thing. And yesterday, when he brought it up on the screen, it came up with a beautiful screen of spectrograms from multiple stations that were all updating in real time. And I can imagine you can make a very similar looking web page with the WWV CHU type spectrograms.
Yeah, that would be
And-
amazing to have.
And I think right now, and I can picture in my head all sorts of, simultaneous stack plots that it would just be really nice. I we notice if you click the link right now, we notice that doesn't seem to be working this morning. But yesterday, I promise you, it was very nice.
All right. Well, the charrette page is, as always, posted in the chat here. Please don't hesitate. You know, if you have an idea, even if it's a smaller nascent one, put it in there. We want to hear it. Make sure that it gets into the process. So looking forward to tackling all of those in a couple of weeks and seeing what people are looking for and how we can integrate it into our plans for building the software ecosystem over the next year or two. So that's pretty much all I got. Back to Net.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns, or discussion? QCC. Okay, I think that's it for this week then. 73, everyone.
73.
Sorry, everyone.